representing Delta State in the Independent National Electoral Commission. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it.
So I'm not surprised that President Muhammadu Buhari has refused to withdraw the nomination of Mrs. Lauretta Onochie, and I am also not surprised that the Senate is screening her. I actually heard the last discussions with the journalists and Mr. Akuma, who said that he can bet that this Senate will not screen and allow her to continue. But I can contend with him on that this rubber stamp Senate that we have, and I choose the word rubber stamp very deliberately because that is what they have proved to be. You know, they are going to screen her and they are going to recommend her for that appointment, and she's going to be appointed.
Well, Tochukwu Hazurike is here with us, and of course being joined by Deji Adeyanju. Welcome, gentlemen. Tochukwu, I'll start with you. You said that was last week.
Yes, on Friday.
That was last week, and your prediction didn't come to pass. What do you have to say?
All right.
Are you going to swallow your words now?
Okay.
Or you're going to apologize like you said?
I made a commitment that I was going to apologize to the Senate if they did not confirm Lauretta Onochie. But you are wrong in saying my prediction did not come true. The correct words to have used is that my prediction has not come true yet. I believe we get the difference.
Your prediction did not come true.
Yes, means you have put a tone of finality to it.
No, there's no tone of finality as far as this particular episode is concerned.
Yes, that's why I said my prediction has not come true yet. So, but I am an honorable
When you
man.
say yet, what does that mean?
You remember that during the screening, let me make the apology first, then I will answer you, because I owe the Senate an apology. Yes. And as an honorable man, when I commit to something, I make sure I do it. Yes, so I want to apologize to the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, having made a commitment that if they show that they will not have the guts to reject the nomination of Ms. Lauretta Onochie. They showed yesterday that they could have done that, and they have done that they could reject it against the president. They could have rejected the nomination or anything from the table of the president. They have shown that they could do that. They have done that. So I want to apologize to the Senate for what happened yesterday, not as a reconfirmation of the eternal integrity of the Ninth Senate or for their entire tenure, but for the act of what they did yesterday. Because by December, May Abamuche's tenure will expire. And like Chief Dan Wanyango said, President Muhammadu Buhari that we know from time, with the events that happened over the FIRO, DG, over the issues of what's the FCC man again, Magu, yes, and a lot of other people. The one in Pencom, the Mrs. Suleiman in Naptip, and all. So there is a history that Mr. President will renominate.
But that's speculative.
But when that happens,
that's speculative.
Well, he may also decide not to renominate. And I will clap for the president. And I will also come then and say, oh, Mr. President, you have yet again proved me wrong. I see, for the victory of Nigeria, I lost, and that is why I'm proud. But I lost for Nigeria to win, and that's why I can make this apology without feeling bad about it. I lost my stake for Nigeria to win, and that is good for Nigeria. It is in the interest of Nigeria that I lost, and I'm very proud to take it and apologize to them unreservedly. So there's no problems about that. But on the issue of the Senate now coming to, you know, why I said again that it has not yet come to pass. If you look at the report, you see that on the issue of partisanship, the Senate gave her a clean bill of health. Now, you understand that the Constitution in two different sections. One, it talks about being a member of a political party. In the other one, it says being non-partisan. The Constitution talks about who should be in INEC in two different, and it says in one, you must not be a member of a political party. In another, it says you must not be partisan. Hello, in Anambra State today, ADA has ruled with some Igbo ideological things that there are a lot of women in the villages. They don't have the cards of ABGA. But if ABGA presents this Bible and tells them, They will go and do Nkabunkai.
What does that mean?
Nkabunkai means this is our own. That is the Abga mantra that works in Anambra. Nkabunkai. So they will tell you this is our own. The others are for other people from other places. Now, if you go to Borno, APC tendency has ruled Borno since 1999. So if anything comes from APC now in Borno, people will just look at it as, oh, that's our own. In River State, if you come with anything PDP now, they will tell you that's our own. Because it has entrenched into the psyche of the people that, so except you find exceptional people in those areas who are educated to a level that they can separate that mantra from the reality of the day, do their private businesses, maybe the academia, in business, or those are the kind of people that should be and should not be in INEC. But when you not say, when the Senate now gives Lauretta a clean bill of health to say that as at 1999 she left APC.
2009.
As at Friday that I was here, 2019. As at Friday last week that I was here, I said here that as at Wednesday last week, just a week ago, Lauretta still I don't have access to Twitter. I didn't go to the VPN stuff, but I checked her Facebook timeline, and on her Facebook you will see as at Wednesday last week post she made in support of the president, in support of the government, in support of the APC. As at 7 days ago.
Okay, Tochi, let me come to Deji. I mean, you've heard what he has said, and let's try and separate the the speculations from the narrative. One of the things Nigerians were calling out for that the Senate ought to have seen and said practically and boldly was her partisanship with the APC, which was very quiet. In fact, they focused on the issue of federal character. Do you still think that they have dealt with the issue within that nomination, Deji?
You know, this ninth National Assembly is a huge disappointment, not just for the separation of powers, you know, but for the fact that they do not have the moral ground to challenge or to show their independence. You can see yesterday they were partying with the president, very unfortunate. And you will see
what do you mean by unfortunate?
It's
are they not supposed to
have a dinner with the president
to do what? Dinner to do what? What are we celebrating? Celebrating the loans approvals? Why should they be dining and partying with the president? Nigeria is seriously in debt. Look at how bad things have become. Look at the electoral bill amendment that is before the National Assembly, for God's sake. A situation where we're in the 21st century, we are discussing banning electronic transmission of results. This is a government that benefited from the card reader. Without the card reader, this current government would not have been in power. So you look at things holistically, then you begin to wonder, is this really a democracy? Are we even pretending that we're in a democracy, for God's sake? What should we in the 21st century? People are going to the moon. Elon is on his way to the moon. We're discussing about appointing a woman that is wearing Buhari regalia, insulting people on Facebook, insulting people on Twitter. This woman has severally insulted me for criticizing the government and criticizing the president. That's the kind of character you want to go and have. You want this woman to go and destroy the credibility and integrity of INEC. So when you look at the president for even having the guts to nominate someone like this, okay, why not? Since the president wants to prove that Nigeria is a zoo, like many people are postulating, why not let the president bring out APC ESCO, the national chairman of APC, let him appoint him as the national chairman of INEC. Then the national secretary, the organizing secretary, let them all of them, plus the PRO of APC, let them be national commissioners in INEC. Because just try to imagine if Goodluck Jonathan had appointed Ruben Abati or Oruntu Douglas or Nuomokri or Doyo Kupe. Let him appoint them into INEC. Because this is what this man is trying to do. This is a candidate who lost the election, who went to the Supreme Court severally, who complained, who protested. Buhari was a former activist. Buhari was a former critic. How can such a person just overnight become a monster, all of a sudden terrorizing our democracy? No, and we are here.
He's not a monster.
Buhari is behaving like a Frankenstein monster.
No, he's not. Deji.
This is my opinion. I don't know why the media, you love to censor people.
We are not censoring you.
Let's just keep the language that
you can say pass information without using like that.
It is my view. It is not a view of AIT.
Just use a decent word.
So this is a man who has benefited from the democratic ideals, and this is the danger. Look at the clowns in the National Assembly today, and I decided to call them clowns. The reason why I'm calling them clowns is because these are people who did not pay any price for the democracy they're enjoying today. Today, People laid their lives for this democracy. Today, these guys...
Deji,
yes?
Just a minute. You know, you want to have a platform that you always come and talk.
Absolutely.
So please, let's talk in such a way that, you know, you don't create a situation where we will not be open for you to come and talk.
Yeah, and the reason why we are discussing why we are sounding like that is because people go to CNN, people go to Al Jazeera, people go to BBC,
right now,
people go to NBC, the
absolutely.
US. People express their views. They are not being told. Hold on,
I agree with you.
The reason why we are talking like this is because we have a tyranny in
I agree with you.
So
I agree. Maybe after this different environment. What's a different environment from ours?
Hold on, maybe
if our environment was like that,
are we practicing democracy
and as tolerant as we expect it to be, and as you expect it to be?
Yes.
If the environment we are operating as that tolerant, you would have absolutely said whatever. But
this government, hold on, this government, when the people in government, the characters in government today, when they were in opposition, they said on TV, they were given a platform to talk. They said they would make Nigeria ungovernable for the then president. They said dogs and baboon will rose. Nobody arrested them. Nobody invited them. So what I'm talking about here, a situation where in a so-called democracy, because if they had cleared Lauretta Onochie yesterday, the people calling Nigeria zoo, wouldn't they have been vindicated yesterday? Look at the way we are reversing, this government is reversing the gains of democracy. So this whole idea of let's intimidate people, let's scare people, my brother, see, I'm not afraid to be arrested from here, from this studio, and taken to the SSS custody and locked and the key thrown away permanently. So the reason why we have people in the National Assembly today proposing jail term for protesters, proposing unimaginable bills to censor the media, of course, it's because we have a situation in our hand where people who never knew how sacrifices were made for democracy, today they are in the National Assembly. They are driving 2021 cars. Next year they will buy 2022 cars for them. They are milking the country dry, and they are doing this on loan. The loan that we are taking from China and all development partners is what they use to fund the expensive lifestyle. And you want us to sit down here and act as if all is well? All is not well with this country. A situation where
Deji, sorry,
talk about everything that's well.
Sorry, let me come. You said something quite critical. You talked about the clouds in the National Assembly, the failure of leadership, but you also remember that the people also go out to vote these people into office. Where is the role of the citizenry here in choosing their leaders?
You see, institutions is what make elections credible. Look at all the gains recorded under Jega, former INEC chairman. We must give to this current INEC chairman. He has said openly, even yesterday, that electronic transmission of results is the way to go. Look at what they are doing. And for me, I am never afraid of praising the government when they get it right. They've got it, this current government has gotten it right with electronic registration of voters, which is currently ongoing. And we must give it to the government. It's a credit to the government. You cannot in one vein give permission for electronic registration of votes, and you in the same government you come and say the thing that will now make sure that our elections are advanced, you say you want to ban electronic transmission of results. Because in the 21st century, how do you expect credible leaders to be elected when we are still hoping that results will be written on paper? It will be taken from point A to point B where people can be shot and killed. They want INEC officials to be killed, they want the youth corpers to be killed, they want political thugs to have a field day and kill themselves and kill voters. So a situation where the card reader has been inculcated into our electoral process, and the card reader itself is an electronic means of voting. There is no way, therefore, you can say that electronic transmission of results should be banned. So the reasons why we have a bad situation in our hands right now, why you can have some senators who can be proposing jail term for people that protest, is because the system that presents such candidates up is not credible enough. And INEC is saying the only way you can make the system credible is by allowing look at what happened in Edo. We were monitoring the result real time. There's no way you could have changed the results, because as they are getting results from polling units, they are uploading. So if a politician had recruited a thug to wait at one collation center to snatch the results, you're just wasting your time. So anything that strengthens our institution. We should encourage it. This president came to power because Jonathan had organized an election that was free, credible, and credible. Jonathan could not vote in Otueke after failure of card reader 3 times. And he waited and complied. So the current president should not come and reverse the gains. In fact, this president, if Buhari has not done anything, let him leave credible elections as a legacy. Because the president is about to leave office. So we should not be in 2021 still discussing how to destroy our elections, you know, how to make our elections less credible. And this idea, the president even, no matter who, so I know it's not the president that will just sit down and say he wants Lauretta Onochie to be made INEC national chairman. It's some people that sat down somewhere and drafted the name and convinced him. And we know some of them. So these people that are doing this, they are doing a great disservice to the country. And they must be told so. Because PDP was in power, they boasted they will rule for 60 years. Look at it today. The same PDP that should have made certain developmental strides, especially to strengthen our elections, are the one crying for the electoral bill now. So the APC should be mindful that if anybody had told them that NSAS will have happened, they will have doubted it. So a tsunami is coming. And that tsunami will consume many who do what is right.
But if the president represents Onochie again, and the Senate, like he said, because he said he's not here to huru, there have been on the current conversations. How do you review that, and what does that mean for the electoral process? Because Chief Dan Waya said here, it might be the death of the election because there will be partisanship and partisan interest.
You see, the problem of Jonathan using soldiers in 2013-2014 election, I think it was really a kitty election, is that he set a bad precedent for the country. Something the president is doing today. If Buhari succeeds in appointing Lauretta Onochie as national chairman, I can assure you that a chairman of a political party will become INEC chairman one day in this country. So the president must stop setting bad precedents for the country. There are things that have been done in this under this government that a president will come, or successive governments will come, and they will normalize it. So it is dangerous for the interests of the... I know that the people at INEC, they will be so unhappy with what is going on currently. For instance, look at somebody that was rejected by the Senate yesterday, Professor Sani Adams, a professor of law, a senior advocate of Nigeria. The reason why they rejected him is because he refused to go around to lobby them. Where do you want such a man to get money to lobby any senator? Where? So you look at people like the people that will be great additions to INEC. You don't confirm them. You spend hours debating somebody who Lauretta Onochie should not be a PA to a national commissioner.
All right, let's make progress. Tochukwu, the electoral amendment bill. So many issues are in that bill. Deji has talked about the issue of e-transmission of results. I think we've flogged that issue, but we can't say we've overflogged it, because this is an issue that's central to a credible electoral process. But is it really foolproof? Because there are people who have said, yeah, you want to say if you can transmit results with a device, so you solve the problem. What if I snatch that device and run away? How would you transmit the results? So is it really foolproof? I know they've passed the Electoral Offences Commission bill, and they've said, okay, prescribe punishment, jail terms, and option of fines for people who violate the law. But we've seen how laws are obeyed in this country. Mainly it's obeyed in violation rather than actually obeying the law.
Well, I don't think it may be proper to start questioning whether we allow e-transmission of results because it is foolproof or not. When the card reader was introduced in the 2015 election, there were issues. President Jonathan, everybody knows what happened in Otueke, then he didn't vote. In a few other places, persons even found it difficult to, utilize it to vote. But the question at the end of 2015 election would have been, did the card reader in any way improve the credibility of 2015 general election? And the answer generally would have to be in the affirmative. Yeah. So I think if we take a step forward and allow e-transmission of results, it's at the end of the process that we will now ask that general question. Did e-transmission of results in any way improve the fortunes of our elections? And I want to believe, even without seeing what, let's just look into the future and say that e-transmission of results will be a step forward in our elections. Why do I say so? Before Professor Mahmoud Yakubu came, you can afford to snatch a ballot box, stuff it, return it, and INEC the officials will count it and declare results there. But when he came, he said, once you snatch a ballot box, or once there is violence in any particular polling booth, that booth will be cancelled. Politicians now saw that snatching ballot box was no longer the business model to follow. They started buying of votes. That was how, I want to believe it was that increased the trend for buying of votes. Now, also, you will also notice that snatching of result sheets was no longer, snatching of ballot boxes also when it left, people now resorted to snatching of the result sheet, so that whatever you do at the ballot box, when you put it on that result sheet, when the result sheet is moving either from the polling unit to the ward or from the ward to the local government, try and intercept it, get access to it, alter the figures, and take it to the next collation point. Now, the e-transmission of result will also erase this one. Like Chief Adeyanju said before, 2023 elections may reach up to 10,000 per vote, because e-transmission of results will take away snatching of ballot box. It will take away snatching of result sheets. So you now see that the only option open to these people who went to party yesterday with the president. Now I must.
Besides, there's economic inflation. So you can't
note something. Thank you very much. Note also, look at the 2006 budget. Nigerians should just look at this. Look at the 2006 budget. Look at the 2014 budget. Look at the 2018 budget. Whatever you see in the trend of these budgets will be what you will see in the 2022 budget. You will see that it will be filled with white elephant projects, so that money for election, it's a pre-election year budget. Nothing is inside it. It's always too big but too hollow, so that monies can move into the hands of people. And that is why they have gone to party yesterday, so that these things will happen. And everything will be packaged very well. Everything will be cemented, and you see the passage. It will be prompt, it will be swift, it will be on point, and everybody will cash out, and they can have access to contesting their Go and look at the budgets. Look at the pre-election year budgets. You will see the same trend. So it's not a Buhari thing. You understand? You will see it in 2014, you will see it in 2018, and you will see it in 2022. Then finally, before I just end on this point, I want to also say, I've acted honorably by saying I will apologize, and I have indeed apologized. But I want to call the attention of the President of the Senate, who said, for whatever it is the President brings to our table, we will approve. Now that he has rejected Lauretta Onochie, has he not gone against what he said? Doesn't he think he owes Nigerians, and indeed even the President, an apology that, Mr. President, whatever you bring now, we will no longer just approve, we will look at it. That is where the integrity of the National Assembly again will start coming back on the increase, and the confidence will be restored in the minds of Nigeria. So I call out the President of the Senate to come and address that statement again, because there is proof, factual proof, that it is not everything that comes from the President that the Senate. And indeed, you will notice that those in favor say aye. Nobody said aye. I didn't hear any sound. It means that the Senate unanimously rejected something that came from the President. So if the Senate President insists that he was correct in what he said, I think it is time for him to either resign or take a step aside. Otherwise, it is clear now that the Senate will not take what the President has said, and he has to come and say, oh, sorry, I made a mistake, thinking we will always do that, but you've also, Senate has not done that. You've also heard that, from Deji, so why should they be dining and whining? Because that's also a ticket to having them, cement the ties, which is what you have said. Go back to history. It has always happened. Absolutely. Let me come to Deji. The conversation and the consideration to repeal and reenact the 2019 Election Act has been something ongoing. The conversation has been back to back. Remember that in 2018, the President, Muhammadu Buhari, stepped it down, refused to sign it into law, that it will affect it was too close to the election. In fact, what was it will affect the 2019.
Yeah, it's going to disrupt the election.
2019 election. Now we are here and we're having this conversation. Now, he talked about, paying of voters during the 2023 election that might be hijacked. How about the cost of elections? They've hijacked the cost of presidential, campaign for about 200%. What does that mean for money in politics, especially for young candidates?
You see, the reason why we do not have credible elections is because our institutions are not strong enough. You find a situation where, if you go to the Ministry of Health, you will discover that Federal Ministry of Health, not its subsidiaries, because they have offices in almost all the states in the country. Now, when you go to the Federal Ministry of Health, you discover you have maybe 2,000 or 3,000 cars, official cars, They have more cars than hospital equipment in the Federal Ministry of Health. Quote me anywhere. At the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they have more official cars than diplomats there. At the Federal Ministry of Works, they have more official cars than farm instruments or construction equipment at the Federal Ministry of Works. So you find a situation where the country is programmed to fail ab initio. A situation where, look at, why should we in 2021 be buying official cars for civil servants? In an underdeveloped, Nigeria is not a developed country, it's an underdeveloped country. Why should we be funding the expensive lifestyle? Go to the National Assembly. The other day when we were protesting this issue of electoral bill amendment, we went to the National Assembly. You need to see the number of cars that were driving into the National Assembly. Official cars with official plate numbers. The number of cars they have in the National Assembly will be more than 5,000. And they buy cars, just like he has said, in the budget, 2020 budget. Just go and look for the budget of each ministry and see how much is budgeted for cars alone. We're not talking of hopeless, clueless trainings that these guys go for. Now, coming back to the elections, the reason why on election day we have citizens and political parties now volunteering to take electoral officials to the polling units is because there are no proper vehicles for INEC. INEC is underfunded, our elections are underfunded. The money that should have been used to buy security vehicles we used to buy official cars for senators and for ministerial and their aides. So if we refuse to fund our elections, we refuse to fund INEC effectively, then we are programming INEC and setting INEC to fail. Look at, how do you expect a young person contesting for election to buy form of a political party for 60 million or 20 million? Look at, somebody was crying that day under PDP that they must return his money. So you discover that we put too much pressure. We put too much pressure on the electoral process, on politicians to go, and even the electoral bill amendment. One of the issues we are agitating for, and that's why we are asking for clause by clause consideration. In making sure that the gains we have recorded as a country should not be reversed. A situation where we need to peg election spending in the Electoral Act. We need to peg it to make it reasonable so that people will not go and start looking for business partners. Politics is not business. Okay, Deji, let me come in here because you're talking about pegging. The approved version to be passed by the lawmakers raised the limit of election expenses for presidential candidates to 15 billion. Why? While that of the governor raised to 5 billion. Senators and House members restricted to 1.5 billion and 500 million naira expenses respectively. So, in other words, people are saying you are giving people the room to go into office, loot the government, and get re-elected. See, Adora, my sister, it's very simple. A president of Nigeria, where a Buhari who was saying he did not have money to buy form, where do you expect somebody to go and get 15 billion naira form? If not for him to go and meet the Dangotes of this world, the Totalas of this world, so that they loan him the money, so that they mortgage the country, so that when they come into power, they mortgage the country to this guy. So, if I'm running for president of Nigeria, which I'm qualified to do, where do you want me to see 15 billion naira from? Where? So a situation where this thing should not even go up to a billion naira, ideally. So we need to, politics, the essence of leadership is that we must do things dispassionately. It must be based on sacrifice. Look at when them Sadana were in power. These guys, they had their conventional offices. When they close from their office, they go and serve the country. Sacrificial. We're not buying official cars for them. So until we do this culture, I don't see why a director in the civil service, whether a Ministry of Health or anywhere, where they need to buy him an official car. If he cannot drive to work in his official car, he should resign. Look at you see people in the police. I go to police stations. You can really find patrol vehicles there, because the vehicles they should be using to patrol, a senator is driving it, a House of Rep member is driving it, a House of Assembly member in the State House of Assembly are driving it, aides of governor, people like this Lauretta Onochie, they all have private cars, official cars. Doing what with it? Why should Garba Shehu be driving an official car? Why should Femi Adesina be driving an official car when police stations don't have patrol vehicles? So until we get it right in this country, we will keep arguing. And AIT, you should not be afraid. Deji Adeyanju, have presented myself for arrest.
Deji, AIT is not afraid. AIT has always been there doing its job. But the thing is, you know how the system is. we have to be, this shop has to be open for business.
Absolutely, I agree.
If this shop is closed down, you wouldn't be able to come here and say what you're saying.
Absolutely.
So we know how the environment is. I mean, there's no coloring.
You see, my brother, if this is not a democracy, even if we have all unanimously agreed that this is not a democracy, at least let us pretend that we are still trying to, let us pretend to the international community that this is so-called
vital. That's a vital point, especially at this point that the civic space is shrinking almost on a daily basis. But we have to go now. But quickly, Tochukwu, tell us, the Electoral Offences Commission bill, is there any hope whatsoever that is going to help cure some of the problems we see in the elections in terms of electoral violence and breach of electoral law?
You know, yes, there's a bill that has been passed called the Electoral Offences Commission bill now. I know the president will want to take glory for it, because I've always said that for every good thing that came off the National Assembly, the only contribution of Mr. President was because he was ceremonially supposed to append his signature to it, and he will do so now and take the glory. But he has not, to the knowledge of any Nigerian, made any presentation. All the cries he cried, particularly 2011, December 28, 2011, when the Supreme Court ruled on his presidential election, 2011 president, and the kind of things he said about INEC and the electoral process and indeed the judiciary, he has not made one contribution, legislative contribution, to correct our electoral process. So that is a burden he will leave office with, and he will carry it eternally. Now, to the benefits of that, Professor Peter Ogban did not experience any electoral commission, offences commission anywhere before he was sent to jail. The fact is, whether you have a commission or that which will be a building, if the people in that place do not want to send you to jail, you will not go to jail. I heard a different opinion, but I respect a man who wears a shoe, who tells me where it pinches. Because Professor Mahmoud Yakubu wears the shoe and he advocates for this electoral commission, offences commission, that is why I will concede to it. Otherwise, I was believing that I had a different view, that we don't, just like police setting up all this road safety, civil defense, if those things are departments in the police, you can sort it out. Now, when people say state police, and sorry, let me just make one slide. In 10 seconds, we are taking the 10 seconds now, just wait. See, if you give the IDIG an instruction that you don't transfer a case from DPO to area command, from area command to state command, from state command to AIG, as you have money. Because if I have a case against you, the DPO, you go and pay 10 minutes, and it will stop that, and then there's no need for state police.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Deji.
In closing, I want to appeal to the National Assembly. I want to appeal to the National Assembly. So when the president begins to praise you, you know you are robust. Because the president was praising the National Assembly yesterday. It's a cause for concern for every Nigerian that we are in serious trouble.
All right, thank you so much. Deji and Tochukwu.